What would a Judaism be if its true source of its sexual nature was revealed? In thinking about this, I see that what my whole life leads to. My entire life leads to the revealing of this sexuality, this potency within Judaism, which means the potency within the self. I was exposed to many things in the secular world. I was put into the secular world to observe these things. And I'm also put in a 40-year study within the religious world. And they parallel. They parallel completely. And both are under wraps. The real nature of people is under wraps, and that's why we have this desire for Mashiach. The desire for Mashiach is the recognition of the true self. And that true self will never be revealed unless the true self of the sexuality of the self is understood, revealed, known to be what it should be. Rather than some attempt to be pure and holy and not have it. The whole point of your existence is to have your sexuality. And how to use your sexuality and to manifest it. Because it is being manifested. Every relationship is a dominant, submissive relationship. Do you go to work? Do you like to have to travel to work? To be there on time? Then do you have a boss? And you're working for a paycheck? You're a slave. It's fine. It's beautiful. Recognize it. Recognize it that's what you're into. Now, this is a propitious time to talk about this because we were all slaves in Egypt. Slaves to the man. And the whole idea of Pesach is that we come out of Egypt. We then become slaves to God. We're always slaves. A very legitimate question was asked me the other day. If Lilith is such an important figure in Judaism, how come she isn't mentioned in the Torah? How come she isn't mentioned in Gan Eden if she was really Adam's first wife? How do you answer that? Tick-tock, tick-tock. The answer to that is, there's such a thing as an oral Torah. The oral Torah is what you bring to it, what the real world brings to it. The Torah, the written Torah, is a blueprint. It's like a blueprint for a building. The blueprint is not the building itself. You have to add like mortar and elevators and things like that. Maybe written there in code, but until it's built, There's a lot of other things going on. When you think of it, there is no Ein Sof written in the Torah. No Sitra Akra words. So you mean the entire Kabbalah doesn't exist because it's not written in the Torah? It is written in the Torah if you know how to read it. Just like Lilith is written in the Torah if you know how to read it, because you bring yourself to it. And these are the important things. And this is what I'm going to address. Now, if you really want to know, Freud knew all this. And he cloaked it in Greek mythology, because we're dealing in the physical world. And it's an anti-Semitic world. So if he told you the real thing, just like hisbodedot, that's used in the Rebbe Nachman structure, specifically in Rebbe Nachman's structure of talking to God 1 hour a day. Sounds exactly like psychoanalysis. Talking to a man behind a screen 1 hour a day. And is what is not really recognized now, because, psychoanalysis costs so much money. In the old days, they wanted you to do an hour every day. So it's just like hisbodedot. And after 12 years of psychoanalysis, the real secret is to find out, and when you're cured, by the way, it takes 12 years, because one day you wake up, you go in, and you realize that the guy behind the screen can't help you. You got to help yourself. And that's psychoanalysis. I've said that before, but in this context. Let me tell you about art, great art. I used to know a man who used to supply these women to Salvador Dali. Salvador Dali used to like to watch two women have some sexual play. And he used to not be involved in that sexual play, but he used to watch and maybe masturbate or whatever he did. And just before he was going to come, he stopped, ran into the other room, and did his art. See? So he used that energy, that sexual energy, for the art. Now, you know, on the internet, the whole thing is porn. And even in the interactions of social media, basically it's porn, but that's another story. It's okay, because in my Judaism, porn is accepted. Porn comes out of the strain of Lilith. You see? Even if we'll call Lilith the other side, the Sitra Akra. Now, strangely enough, Sitra Akra, the gematria is 480, which is the same as Lilith. Voila! I didn't make this up. Just remember, as I've always said, I'm not smart enough to make anything up, anything new. I can only put together things that have already been said. So the gematria of Sitra Akra is 480. And then you find that Lilith is 480, so that you see this. You see the Sitra Akra is Lilith. And the great secret in Judaism is that Aleph Samak, Ein Sof, those two letters reversed, a Sitra Akra. And you have to understand that's not much different than a vav hahipuk. It changes the tense of a sentence in Judaism, which is what the Torah is all made of. So how to unfold this, you see? How to really get at it? The whole secret is, and now, the tree of life, you know, they call it the Etz Chaim in the Torah, but in the Torah it doesn't show that the tree of life has 10 sephirot, and the tree of life is your body. These are all developments from people, you see. And it's development from orgasm. You know, part of my thing was that when I was in college, university. When I was in university, I was an English major, so we used to study texts. One of the great things is that a young poet is 15. I used to write poetry all day in school, you know, and it was 50 minutes or something, because that's what the class was. So all my poems were 50 minutes. A young poet is 15. A young playwright is 25. A young novelist is 35. A young philosopher is 45. That was the statement. Now I added this. And a young, you know, Kabbalist is like 65. But young 15, novelist 25. No, playwright 25, novelist 35. I don't know what I said before. A philosopher 45. It has to do with the length of the line of the writer, how long his writing is. So poetry is short. It's like a quick orgasm. A playwright, it's a little bit longer. It's a little bit more conversational. That's 25. That's starting to be a little bit of an interaction. A novelist, which is a complete thought, it's a long 400-page book, that's 35. And then a philosopher who's really deep in thought is 45, and it's the long line. And that's the orgasm, the length of the orgasm. And one of my great secrets, because I was a writer as a young boy, is that I used to know what I was thinking about while I wrote these words. And the secret is, well, that's why I was good in analysis of texts, and why I'm doing that now as analysis of text. Because I can tell from the writing itself what the author thought while he was writing it, what the author was thinking while he was writing a certain word, Bereshis. What was he thinking? And that's what analysis of text is. And I can tell you that all this is predicated on a sexual drive, because the entire opus of the world is Hashem's manifestation sexually into physicality as a partner for him, as a sexual pleasure. And if you don't think so, then turn all this off, because that's all you're going to hear. It's no different. Hashem is no different than you, because you can only recognize human stuff in Hashem. You can only recognize your stuff in Hashem. And that's the beauty. And if you have a desire for this, you know, oh, I'm bad, then you don't understand. Let's talk about Yesod. Yesod is the big deal. Everything is Yesod. Yesod is the sixth day. It's the day, by the way, that you get 2 portions of of manna. Sixth day is the end of the 6 days of the work week. So you work for 6 days, and a scholar spends those 6 days studying, refining himself for the Shabbos, which is a bia, which is an interaction with the feminine. So he works improving himself. The male improves himself for the female. Let me just do this now because, let me just see. Yesod and Malchus, that's 80 and 496. That's 476 plus 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 plus 1. So, yes. 576 plus 10, 586, and that's the whole deal. Yesod, fully spelt out, by the way, comes out to be 586. 586 is Yerushalayim. Yesod, that means Yud 20, Samek 120, Vav 12, Dalet 434. That's 586. That's the same as Yerushalayim. So when there's this desire for Yerushalayim, which is legitimate in the normative Jewish opus, that's the desire for Yesod. And that same thing when you hear the shofar. The shofar is 586. 586 is Yesod. And the thing looks like the Yesod, doesn't it? And it's no different than the Ouroboros of the thing in its mouth. It's no different, by the way, than Metzitza Hadam. When you take away Metzitza Hadam from the three things of the breast, you're taking away shofar, whether you know it or not. And what is it? What is that shofar? So we have shofar. We have Yerushalayim. It's all in Yesod. Now, Yesod is the culmination. All rivers run down into Yesod. The 6 days of the week come into the Yesod. When you stand up on the body, the Yesod is the penis. It's the genital area. Come on. Come on. It's the center of the world. Yerushalayim. And doesn't it look like a shofar when it has an erection with a bent? Now, when you do just Yesod, I've done this before, another thing, Yesod, and that's 80, and Malchus, because now the 6th, which is the double portion, goes into the 1 on Shabbos, because there's no activity on Shabbos except sexual activity. See? There's no activity except sexual. That's the 40th labor of Shabbos. 40th labor, when it says 39 or 40 minus 1. They never say 39, they say 40 minus 1. 40 minus 1, the 1 is bia, intercourse, sexuality. Because, not in this video because it's getting long here, but I'm going to start explaining that the real sexuality is something else. It's your desire. your botzina de kartanuta, your fetish. So this Yesod and is 80, and Malkus was 496. And so that together becomes 576. And if I add the letters, it's Yesod for 4 and Malkus for 5. That's 9 and 1 for all of them. It's a word, and that comes out to be 586. So Yesod in full includes Malkus. And what's this relation with Malkus? Is Malkus a separate entity like the sexuality of the sexual part of a woman? Or is it the Sitra Akra to begin with? Is Malkus the anal to begin with on the body? And these are factors that you have to think about. This has all been known. See? But it's not revealed because it's not polite. Not polite to talk about the real thing. You can talk about the phony thing for generations. My whole family's dead. We never talk. Well, we talk, but it's not revealed. So they couldn't receive the pleasure of the true revelation. And that's sad. And I'm approaching my ends. And I'm giving myself a blessing that may I live my last years in the throbbing pulsation of what was intended for a human being to throb with every heartbeat and to every breath, and to recognize this is a spiraling snake surrounding lights around the body. And to me, when this becomes manifest and recognized and satisfied and talked about, we'll have a different view of what Judaism really is.